everybody, Rob here, once again to talk about some sweet medieval sort of related stuff. Alright, this suggestion comes from RoboPile, so you can thank him for the idea of this lovely video. Sorry it took so long, had to kind of rack my brain about it. So he asked me the other day, what would be in the perfect castle. So I'm going to go with my personal perfect. Obviously no castle is perfect. Every castle can be taken regardless of how well it's defended. If you have enough men and time, you can take it. It's just the way it is. But let's get started. First, we're just going to say there's no gunpowder weaponry, because that pretty much changes the whole idea behind a castle. If there's gunpowder weaponry is common and readily available, the original idea of a castle is not great. So here's what we're gonna have in our perfect castle. One, you're gonna want to find a dominating piece of terrain if you can. So if you can put it up on a nice mountaintop, a rocky outcropping, edge of cliffs are also good, especially if you can get down to the sea or along rivers as well, because then you can include them in your defensive plans. So I'm going to set my tower keep. It's going to be rounded. It's not going to be like a Norman square type like you see at Dover and the Tower of London. Be a nice rounded type, because rounded structures don't give any easily targeted corners. Because if you think about it for a second, just close your eyes and imagine this. If you're trying to hit a target, if it's flat like the side of like the side of your house, and it's just perfectly flat, much easier to hit. If that is round, it's not harder to hit. It's much harder to do damage because there's nothing. It's going to have more of a chance of bouncing off and losing a lot of its energy. So you are able to reduce damage to your stonework. Obviously, you're going to want to make it relatively thick. You're talking 10, 13 feet, for a realistic defense. All right, so we got a rounded keep. About, I don't know. We're just going to say this is on pretty flat land, just for make it simple on ourselves here. So then that's going to be about 80, 90 feet tall or so. So nice dominating view of the surrounding area. Now, of course, we're going to have an encompassing wall. The first set of walls, those are going to be about 40, 50 feet tall. And again, 13 feet tall at the base, about 11 at the top. You're going to have crenellations and merlons on top. Murder holes, of course, so that you can fire straight down at the base of the tower. Since hoardings were wooden structures, you kind of stuck to the front, and then that would be the same idea. You were able to shoot directly down. There wasn't any blind spot on the wall. Also, of course, you're going to want towers. Again, I would go with a circular wall for the same reasons. More chance of ricocheting or stealing a lot of the energy from projectiles, so that you can, again, reduce the damage and make it that much harder to bring the wall down. Now, going to add towers to that, rounded towers. You want these towers, I would want these towers, I'm just going to say me, first person. I would want these towers large enough to be able to mount trebuchets on top of, so that we can help keep the enemy at distance and that kind of thing, Make it a bit harder for them to have an encampment. Also, this the inner bailey, the inner ward here, is going to have all your essential secondary functions. You're going to want your well in here, obviously, covered so that they can't get disease-ridden animal carcasses thrown into it and poison your well. Your food, your buttery, your pantry, your smith, your woodworkers, all the essentials you need day to day at a castle. Anyway, you're going to want these in the inner bailey. You don't want them on the outside of that particular wall. So you're going to have your essential buildings in the inner ward with the keep. And then, of course, like I said, plenty of towers, probably, depending on the size, 10, 12, as many as you can realistically stick on there. The real limiting factor when you build a castle, of course, is your coin purse. Building a castle is astronomically expensive. It's very, very expensive. So I'm talking the most perfect castle that would render countries' budgets. So this isn't really possible in the strictest sense, but you're going to probably want 2 gatehouses here into your inner ward. Obviously, you're going to have reinforced gatehouses with Instead of just a gate, it's going to have obviously a metal reinforced wooden door, probably two, preferably one at the front and one at the back. I would also have at least two portcullises. I'd probably put three. Also, of course, murder holes on top of your gatehouse. So once again, you can chuck rocks and boil, hot sand, boiling water, all the fun stuff onto people that you've now trapped on the inside. Arrow slits in your towers, the works. So then I'm gonna dig a moat, aka we're just gonna say a ditch probably in this case. If you can fill it with water, great. That's an extra barrier. So I'm gonna have I'm gonna say 25-foot ditch, about 15 feet wide, big ditch, substantial. I want it deep and wide. And then, of course, the gatehouses will have drawbridges that you can raise up, just to slow people down even more. So again, two gatehouses, very deep moat. I'm going to stone line it if there's not stone underneath there. If there's not rock ground underneath there, I'm going to stone line it, probably a foot or so, maybe more if you've got the material. Of course, this helps with undermining, because then they have to dig very deep to try and undermine your walls, and if you have to dig that far underneath and then up, it's going to be a lot of effort. It's going to take a long time, which is exactly what you want. You want them to have to do everything in the most roundabout way possible. It won't take forever, because that means you've got more time to wait for your reinforcements to show up, which is what's really going to break the siege in most cases. So then with this ditch, and probably I might build a mound on the other top. I'm not sure the effectiveness of that, of having a mound that just gives a dead area, honestly, for your defenders. Now, then I'm going to put another wall outside of that, and I'm going to have two sets of walls. This wall is only going to be about 30 feet tall. It's going to be shorter because you want it so that when if you lose the first set of walls, if it's the same height and the ground's flat, of course, we're just working on that principle, the ground is perfectly flat. If your first wall is 40 feet and your second wall is 40 feet, that means that they can shoot at you and you can shoot at them. That's not great. You don't want that. So you make this wall higher, so you give yourself a height advantage, and you can rain, fire down on the walls you've just lost, and, make it a pain in the ass for them. So there you go. You're going to have that second set of walls. It's still going to have a couple of gatehouses. I would put them on opposite ends from the other gatehouses to your inner ward. So if you put the ones on into the inner bailey on the east and west side, then you put the other ones on the north and south. So there's no direct path to your citadel. All right, follow? You guys tracking here? And then, of course, with that wall, it's not going to have as many. It's not going to be as powerful as your second set of walls. So it's still going to have towers. I might use a square wall in this case, just so you can have strong corner towers, 4 strong corner towers with the 2 gatehouses that are reinforced as well. In a similar manner, the inner bailey, multiple portcullises, multiple doors, murder holes, those kind of things. I wouldn't have these towers have any artillery on them. It seems like you really want to, but that's really just asking to have the enemy turn those around and shoot them at you if you lose the wall. So I wouldn't have the towers large enough for artillery there. And I would make sure that the wall is within arrow shot from the other towers, but obviously so that it's not you can't shoot back at the walls that lead to your inner ward. So of course have another moat around there. Again, water filled if I can. It just makes it harder. If they mine into it, then they get flooded out, and it's a real pain in the ass for them, and I'd probably kill some of them. Again, there you go. So if I'm gonna go, that's about my perfect castle. Obviously, if you're really it's a really important spot, and there's enough room, a town within those walls, that second set of walls is great, because that's a nice little garrison force you have there, because people will obviously fight to defend their towns and that kind of stuff. That's important. It gives you more storage space, obviously, and all that fun stuff. So again, you want to have, if that's my perfect castle, it's pretty much as perfect as I can imagine one. Anyway, if you guys can make one better, fucking leave that shit in the comments. I want to read about it. But you got to you got one set of walls outside of that, and then another set of walls. Outside of that, just 3 sets of walls really isn't going to do you any good. And here's why I say that. Because if you do that, the amount of people you need to garrison that castle just grows exponentially. And then it just becomes impossible to really maintain its defenses in any way that you're really going to be able to hold. Just too much space. Because you can't make it too big, because then you just need 5,000 people to patrol this one castle, and you just can't do that. You know, it's not something you can afford to do. And then your defenses are extra weak, and then you're actually just easy to capture. Now, with the 2 sets of walls and the ditches, I've made it. It's going to take a long time to take this castle by force. Is going to take a lot of men, a lot more men than I have. Especially, you know, if there's the townspeople as well, and we're talking, you know, moderately sized town, 5,000-10,000 people. If we say there's 10,000 people living in this town, and we say 5,000 of them are eligible, you know, are really going to defend. So I mean, that's at least 5,000 troops that I've got, plus, you know, the Lord's retainers and any of his household troops as well that are, you know, better equipped and stuff like that. If it's a really rich town, some of these townspeople and the guards of might be fairly well equipped as well with mass-produced plate armor and these kinds of things. You're just making a real headache for your enemy. Because the idea behind a castle isn't always so much as to really repel an attack as to really have it take so long that you can realistically go, okay, we need to be able to hold out for at least 60 days under normal circumstances. So you're going to probably prepare at least 120 days worth of supplies, of course, because, you know, nothing goes to plan correctly, right? So no plan survives contact with the enemy, is the old saying. So you're going to keep in mind a time frame of, all right, if we can hold out 60 days, you know, everyone else will be able to rally up their forces and come and break the siege. And then there will, you know, we'll be able to, you know, hold out that long. So there you go, guys. My perfect castle. Thanks to RoboPile for that suggestion. Very nice one. Really had me racking my brain for a while. I'm sorry it took so long. I really wanted to get it out a lot faster, but I was racking my brain really hard about, you know, how I wanted it to look, and, you know, my brain was like, oh, what about this and that? And so I apologize about that, guys. If you guys want to talk more about this stuff, let me know in the comments below. All that fun stuff. I really appreciate suggestions. Helps me out. I get to rack my brain over topics, you know, and do a little bit of research on stuff, and I love that. So if you got suggestions for me, comments down below, or you can check me out on Twitch. I stream 6 days a week, guys. So if you want to go and we can talk right there, you know, live-ish, you know, because of delay. Sorry. There's only so much I can do. So if you guys, you know, want to, there's a video you want me, topic you guys want me to cover, you can put it in the comments. You can leave me suggestions on my Twitch channel. That's where Robo came into my stream. It was like, hey, what about a video for this and a video for that? I got one more idea from him that I'm going to put into a video soon. So look forward to that, guys. Thanks very much to all of my subscribers. Love you guys. Thanks to all my followers on Twitch. I also love you guys. My few subs, I love you guys too. Thanks for helping me do the things I love to do, talking about history and you know, playing video games and stuff. So if you want to support me, you know, subscribe, go over to Twitch, follow me on there, and come hang out. We can talk about history and all that other fun stuff. All right, you guys have a good night, and I will see all you guys in the next video. All right, bye for now.